But we're not done, because it is time for everybody's favorite segment of the PWT show, and it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. So, man, Dave Meltzer, he talks out of both sides of his ass all the time. He does it all the time, and here's him talking out of both sides of his ass when it comes to Chad Gable re-signing with WWE and how Dave Meltzer's fantasy mark booking Gable would have been booked in AEW. Oh my God, we get a little Dave Meltzer fantasy mark booker of the week. So Dave says, well, I would have figured he was gonna, resign. So instantly the first thing, I would have figured he was gonna resign. What?
Yeah. What?
You what?
You would have figured he was gonna resign. He's getting the best push of his career. He got a great contract offer. There's no certainties elsewhere. It's not like it's Ricochet, who probably is gonna do better in than he did in WWE. Brian, financially and from a push standpoint. Whereas with Gable, they might respect him because he's such a freaking awesome wrestler, and he might get in there and in the higher well, isn't it all about awesome wrestling? I thought that's what AEW is all about, Dave. So they won't respect him, but I thought he's
dummy. Yeah.
Imagine that. AEW might respect this Gable kid if he can. What a bunch of idiots, man. Oh my God, Dave is such a dumb. What? And he might get there in the higher mix and work with the Okada type guys and things like that. Okada's not a draw, Dave. No one cares about Okada anymore. Okay? I'm sorry. And I love Okada. I have an Okada t-shirt. My girlfriend wears it to bed a lot. I snuggle me some Okada. Okay? I love him. Rocked with him all back in the day and everything. Japan against Kenny, all that. Before that, after that, love Okada. The fuck are you talking about, dude? The Okada level guys. Gable's a bigger draw than Okada. Jesus Christ. Which in WWE, he's never gotten the chance to be a singles guy at that level, but probably not. So is Sami Zayn a bigger star than Katsuchika Okada? Because Gable just wrestled him on pay-per-views and TV. I'd say Gunther's a bigger star too, and Gable was at that level, Dave. So don't know what you're talking about, bro. You are making up.
Liar!
But probably not. Probably closer to Pac, which is someone who's somewhat protected. But if you compare Pac's a super wrestler. He's a super wrestler. Oh my God. Oh.
Dummy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not just a wrestler. No. In AEW, we have super wrestlers. I'm really serious. Have you guys, oh my God, that's what it is. Have you guys ever seen South Park with Al Gore? Man, Bear Pig, super AIDS. I'm so totally serious. Oh, I need that for the soundboard, you guys. Y'all remember that episode where it's like, no, it's not AIDS, it's super AIDS. Dave Meltzer. Yeah, there's not wrestlers here. Pac's like a super wrestler, and we have super wrestlers in AEW.
This is great.
Woo! Yes. I love PWT Podcast. They don't beat him like a drum or anything like that, but Pac and Chad, who's doing better right now, who's getting more TV time, who's more in the mix, it's Chad by a landslide. So there you go. So Chad is more over. So this is what Dave Meltzer just did. He took time out of his show to say, to lie and say, I would have figured he was going to resign, but I said that he might not. And he's getting a great push, and he's awesome. He won't be Ricochet or Okada level, but he'll be. So Gable's featured more prominently than Ricochet. So Dave's showing how ass backwards, like, oh no, AEW won't view Gable like Ricochet. What? Like Gable's featured way more even in WWE. Like, these people are so backwards. Dave is such an idiot. But Dave basically just disrespected 4 people, Ricochet, Gable, Okada, and Pac, all in one, sitting there because he's so stupid.
Yeah.
And he just talks out of his ass, and it makes no sense, you guys. So Mark Coffey tweets out on Father's Day, I believe, yes, your dad gets drunk and rates wrestling matches out of 5. Calls himself Dave Meltzer. Let's go. Mark Coffey listens to PWT Podcast confirmed. But yeah, he has another clip here. This is Joe Coffey, so one of the Coffey brothers. And he responds to Wrestling Guru, who says Dave Meltzer rated Obafemi versus Wesley versus Joe Coffey 3.25 stars. He's joking, right? And here's Joe Coffey's response to that.
He doesn't have a clue. That's because he doesn't have a clue what goes in to professional wrestling, because he's never laced up a pair. Do you know the people's opinions I respect? Or the people when I go through the curtain and they tell me if it's good or bad. That's who I respect.
Yeah, you're goddamn right, because Triple H and Shawn Michaels and them, they're not going to just not tell them if it wasn't or how to improve or whatever. And shout out Joe Coffey, and that's exactly right. Even me, Phil Marks, what I have to say. You're the one lacing up the boots, man. I'm just on Team Wrestler all the time. I'm on Team Business and Wrestler all the time. First, every time. Let's go. So shout out the Coffey brothers, because that is hilarious. So this is courtesy of @Meltzer Said What. Here's Dave and Brian's scathing review of the Christian promo segment about Nick Wayne's dead father on the anniversary of his passing. So Christian on Father's Day, or the anniversary of Nick Wayne's dad's passing, cut this promo, and here's Dave and Brian's review of it, and then we are going to look at some hypocrisy here, courtesy of Meltzer Said What, the GOAT. So here we go.
Shayna, Nick, and Luchasaurus are in the ring for Christian's Father's Day celebration. And Shayna calls out Christian, and he does this long promo. And he says, today is the anniversary of the death of Buddy Wayne. As a child, it is. This can affect you in different ways. He says, Nick, your father dying was the best thing that ever happened to you because it brought you to me. I love you, son. And so Nick has a letter for Christian, and it says, to Dad, you are the greatest TNT champion in history. I can only dream of having half your talent, but I will keep striving to prove my worth. Love, Nick. And so then there's a giant picture in the ring, and he unveils a painting of himself, and he says, Killswitch, did you paint this? And Killswitch nods. It's like a great painting. And Christian says, well, it's all right. But Nick, this letter means so much to me. Killswitch, he says, you need to do better. You need to be more like Nick. So Killswitch is all angry. He's about to leave. And Christian says, come back here. I have something to tell you. He says, at Double or Nothing, I came up short in my quest to win the title. But there's alternate footage of me showing my shoulder was up. But I'm not going to show that. I don't make excuses.
So this is just them reviewing it. You know what I mean? So don't worry. Dave Meltzer Said What has a point with this, okay?
I want to be the world champion. And my path to the title starts with winning the trios titles. So he says, yes, my gift to you.
Like, do you hear how stupid this is? Yeah, my path to the world title will start when we enter the trios division. Holy man. And this is supposed to be sports wrestling, dude. So here's their review of it, right? Like here, they don't really care about here.
To company now. Tony Khan, he says, I am your father, and we will be the next trios champions, the faces of TNT now and forever. And the crowd's like dead for half of this. And it's far from Christian's best promo. And he looked like he lost his train of thought a couple of times. And by the time this was over, I thought, Nick missed Triple Mania for that. And that was a segment. So yeah. I guess they're going.
So, Dave just trying to, and then, yeah, Nick Wayne missed Triple Mania to like go and get his, like Tony Khan's like, no, you can't be on Triple Mania. And then he's on this collision. He just gets his dad insulted on the anniversary of his death. This ass Stupid company, man. So then here, Meltzer said what? Of course, doing the Lord's work. I wonder what Meltzer will say this time. So here's Meltzer tearing WWE a new one over Reed Flair angle with an epic rant. So they just don't care. Nick Wayne misses Triple Mania to get his dad roasted by Christian Cage for the 1,000th time. They don't have nothing to say because it's Tony Khan and it's okay and it's AEW. But 9 years ago, Dave Meltzer freaks out. He ranted and got mad about, the Reed Flair angle when they brought that up. Dave talks about WWE's championship tournament came down to the expected Final Four of Survivor Series in Atlanta. Whatever. In an attempt to put more focus on the women's division, given the timing of the UFC event, they did a scripted pull-apart brawl from Charlotte and Paige to set up the match. And then Paige brought up Reed Flair and Dave just went crazy about it. You guys can read this here. It's not anything new for the company because they did this and worse in 2006 after the death of Eddie Guerrero and in 2013 after the death of Bill Moody, Paul Bear, right? Like he's just going lambasting them. He doesn't have one word to say, yeah. He doesn't have anything to say about Christian Cage doing the same thing for the 100th time. It is so stupid, man. It is far, and speaking of far past the point of embarrassment, Brian Alvarez, just a pompous little here. So Matt Hustwaite says, I work in network television. Much of my job revolves around ratings, and even I think it's wildly stupid how hung up many in the wrestling fan base get on demos being an end-all, be-all metric for a company that is quote-unquote winning. It's getting to the point of embarrassment. So Matt Hustwaite, you're dumb, and I don't care what TV network or where you work around networks, you're stupid because guess what, dude? It does matter because AEW are the ones who say the ratings and the demos matter. Chris Jericho called himself the demo god. They're the ones who said that, so that's what everyone goes by. Now they want to shift the goalposts? Okay, so what metric then, Matt Hustwaite? What metric then are we going to compare them to? Brian Alvarez pipes in and goes, actually, it was far past the point of embarrassment long ago.
Dummy, yeah.
Stupid idiots, man. So, okay, what's the next metric? Pay-per-view sales? They don't do pay-per-view, okay? So what's the next metric? So AEW's got them beat, but WWE doesn't want to do pay-per-view, so it doesn't matter. It's moot. So then what's the next one? Okay, streaming service. WWE's got them beat. What's the next one? Live shows. WWE's got them beat. What's the next one? Quality of show. WWE's got them beat. What's the next one? You know what I mean? What name? Merch sales. WWE's got them beat. So yes, the TV does matter because that's what they want to tout and use as the metric. So that's the metric. Now they don't want to use it because it doesn't work and they're coping like what you're doing, Hustwaite. So it does. Yeah, we get it. Cord cutters, TV's dead. But then look at all the other metrics. And they want to talk about, they went up against NBA with Kevin Hart and they beat them. Number 2 in cable. Okay. So then you're going to get cooked for the TV ratings because all they are is a TV show. Matt Hustwaite, and they're not on streaming. So if they're just a TV show, then the TV ratings matter because it's not pro wrestling. Do you understand that? It's not. There's no PC. There's no house shows. There's no territory. There's no loop. There's nothing. They share a territory, the Florida territory, with WWE, who have a thumb on it. So it's only TV. So now tell me a TV show, another one that doesn't have a streaming deal, where the TV ratings don't matter. Matt Hustwaite, I welcome you to tell me a TV show that doesn't also have streaming, okay? That is, the TV ratings don't matter. Jesus Christ. It's insane. It is embarrassing. You guys are embarrassing long ago. Look at this room. That is embarrassing, bro. God, we've almost gone 3 hours. So Dave Meltzer on whether Trick Williams or Braun Breaker will be bigger, be star in 5 years. Who will be bigger? It's a hard one because this Trick has to evolve a little bit more and get better to be the top guy. Now, remember, guys, I've been exposing the Dave Meltzer agenda against Trick Williams. He hates Trick because Trick outdraws Ospreay and all of AEW. So he's trying to bury him before he gets main roster because, yes, Trick needs a little work, but he has star written this guy's the future, So I think he's got a real charisma. Braun doesn't have that same charisma, but Braun's a top guy too. No, he's not, Dave. And if you're talking in the future, okay, cool, but he's not a top guy. So, pay attention to what you're saying. I don't see Braun as being the guy you could build the whole company around. What a idiot, Dave. Oh my God. I can't wait till that happens and we come back to this segment. Trick could be one of the 2 or 3 guys that you do. True. Because he's got the cool factor. Yeah, and Dave Meltzer, of course, knows about cool with his backwards hat and headphones and hi, cool kids, right? So Dave is the arbiter of cool. But then here's his ratings, his NXT Battleground star ratings, and we're gonna read it here. And you had to know what he was gonna be a hater. Like you had to know. So women's ladder match 2 stars. I hope you guys can still see that. Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus the OC, 3.25 stars. Lola Vice versus Shayna Baszler, 3.75 stars, which, okay. That was, to me, I love Lola, but that match wasn't super over with me, but I don't know. Dave is gonna Dave. Oba Femi versus Lee versus Coffee. Great match. Probably match of the show. Or Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace, 3.7 match. For me, probably match of the show. And then Trick versus Ethan, 2.75. Now, it did feel rushed. It wasn't the best match. I'd probably give it, like if Dave, because we know to Dave, 2.75 is like him being insulting because the rating's up to like 7. But if you're being fair out of 5, yeah, I'd give it like a 2.5, which is like an average, like right in the middle. So I actually don't fault Dave, but he's going to give Trick 2 stars. He's going to on Trick. He's going to go question him the whole time, and then Trick's going to prove him wrong because Dave has an agenda against Trick, which we absolutely know. Now the last piece I want to bring to you guys at PWInsider.com. Shout out Dave Scherer, friend of the show, great guy. Never met him. He just doesn't know he's a fan of the show yet, or pardon me, a friend of the show yet. But he's tremendous, and there's an article. We're going to read it together. And he used this picture of Dave in his messy ass room. And he said, and at PW Insider says, hopefully the last set of Dave Meltzer questions I will ever have to answer. And there's an article here accompanying that. And we are going to check this out because it's brilliant stuff, guys. So you can send us questions about questions for PWInsider.com, Q&A at PWInsider@gmail.com. So Dave Meltz, so this is just questions, and he answers a set of questions here, and there's a premium version. Consider joining PWI Elite or whatever. And shout out PWI. I think the fairest, best wrestling news. I think they do their diligence. And shout out Mike Scherer, or Dave Scherer. Pardon me. Did I call him Mike Scherer? My bad. Dave Scherer the whole time. Too many Daves. I'm a dummy. But you can send us questions for the PW Insider Q&A here. Dave Meltzer took issue with Mike Johnson. Sorry, I'm thinking of Mike Johnson, thinking of Dave Scherer. Mike Johnson, Dave Scherer, they all had a little problem with Meltzer there. And so sorry about that if I conflated your name there, Dave. So Meltzer took issue with Mike Johnson's story about Ricochet, claiming a source close to the situation disputed what Mike reported. Of course, Meltzer was wrong, but my question is this. Did he just expose to the world that he doesn't do his due diligence when it comes to the actual job of reporting? He claims to be a reporter, but he takes the word of one person to dispute the actual real reporting of a respected journalist. Isn't a reporter supposed to get at least 2 separate sources for a story, and shouldn't he have gotten more than that if he was going to contest with someone reputable like Mike Johnson reported? Yes is the answer. But so Scheer responds. He says, okay, first and foremost, as I said before, I really don't want to talk about Dave Meltzer on here on this site anymore. Through his reporting since AEW started, he has shown the world that he's all about. So what he's all about. So talking about him here is just a waste of time. Sure, it's one thing. Sorry, there's typos in here, guys. Shout out Dave, but like, goddamn, it's one thing to poke fun. It's one thing to poke fun at him on X, which he definitely deserves given the arrogant way he carries himself and reports on wrestling. But here on the site, I don't think he deserves space any longer. Give me all the space, Dave. I'll take all the Meltzer space because I love it. Okay, it feeds this channel. Talking about him now is like talking about Vince Russo to me. They are cut from the same cloth. But what he did, bro, come on. I love the wrestling business. But what he did last week was so egregious and totally bereft of any journalistic integrity that I feel that I have to answer your question and cover his hijinks one last time, only because he brought Mike Johnson into it. For those who missed it, Meltzer chose to question the story that Mike broke about Ricochet giving WWE notice by saying something to the effect of Ricochet's situation was, quote, up in the air when it was not. Meltzer's verbiage called Mike's report and credibility into question. His reason for doing so, one source supposedly close to the situation, which Dave makes up all the the time. Disputed what Mike reported, so Meltzer ran with the quote story. Yes, you read that correctly. Meltzer likes to think that he's a top reporter in the business, but as you stated above, he clearly showed that he isn't. No credible journalist would break a story based on what one person close to the situation told him, let alone dispute the report of a highly respected colleague under those conditions. And that's where I got heat with Sean Ross Sapp with the whole Punk thing, because Sapp was like, no, Punk's not gonna be in W. Like they made a story about it. I swear to God. And then when Punk's there, shows up again, all of a sudden he starts spilling his guts on all of the stuff and like, oh, we have the insider on his contract and everything. And I said, I'm going to stop going at Sapp, and I'm not going at him, but I'm just reiterating, like, this is what happened to me too, essentially. And, Sapp got mad, and then Sapp came out and said, no, I was told by one person Punk would return and one he wasn't. So I didn't want to go out on a limb and say he was. But you went out on a limb and said he wasn't, or he's not expected to, or whatever. So, it's just don't say anything if you guys don't want to catch flack for this. It's really simple, But anyways, with that said, let's look at what went down. Mike heard about the Ricochet story and got multiple sources to confirm it. He had enough confirmation to run the piece the day before he actually did, but he still had some things he wanted to vet, so he held the story for another day. He finally fleshed out everything that he wanted to know and cover, and then he broke the story, like a real reporter does. Then Meltzer does what he does. What makes Meltzer so despicable to me, in all of this, is his complete and utter lack of respect for Mike and his inability to show any semblance of professionalism. Now, Dave Meltzer, and I know this for a fact, he doesn't like Mike Johnson because Mike Johnson gets actual WWE sources and they will not talk to Meltzer. You should do even more due diligence than you normally do if you're going to dispute it. Exactly. And maybe in this case he did. It's like that old trope. If you come at the king, you best not miss. Shout out Ariel Helwani. So what Meltzer should have done, if he had actual sources to ask, was to multi-source his story, flesh it out, and then report whatever it was he was going to report. What did he do? He chose to try and taint a legitimate story by the best reporter in the business. Goof close to the situation. I won't say what kind of behavior what that kind of behavior is, but it's sure as hell not good journalism. Since there were more Meltzer questions in the queue, I will answer them and then hopefully be done with this guy forever. So there's a couple more, guys. This is a long one today. Why is that every time that I see Dave Meltzer retweet someone who asks why he doesn't take AEW to task for the things that they do to hurt their ratings, he always says that they don't read what he writes and that he does it more than anyone else. Scherer says, if you're being fair, there's one thing that you have to consider, and that's that a lot of the stuff that some of us think is ridiculous, like the clip below, Meltzer thinks is 5-star wrestling. If he thinks what Will Ospreay and Reef Phoenix do below is good wrestling, he can't be expected to say that it isn't. That's my job, and I will gladly do it. Now, the arrogant way he talks to people, there's no excuse for that kind of behavior, especially from a senior citizen who should know better. Exactly. So I don't know. So yeah, there's Triple H's thoughts. Dave Scheer's responding and tagging at Mike PWInsiders and saying, yo, we talked about this and this is utter to me, when he sees what Phoenix and Ospreay are doing. So why do people cite Dave Meltzer like he's credible when he is wrong so much of the time? Dave says, my guess is because they are aggregator sites and they will copy the work of anyone that they find even somewhat credible. I can't say for sure because I don't run one of those sites, but it seems like it's an attempt to get clicks, whether there is any truth to a story from anyone that they cite or not. To some people, credibility doesn't matter at all, which is sad. Do you think that Dave Meltzer got the idea to color his hair as an old man from Vince McMahon? I honestly can't say, because as someone who is 2 years younger than Meltzer and 16 years younger than Vince, there is no way in the world I would color my very gray head of hair. I have earned every one of my gray hairs and they are a part of who I am. Coloring them with bad dye, it's not something I would ever consider. Roasting them. I am happy and content with who I am at this point of my life. I don't need to pretend I am younger than I am. Yeah, what's up, young Meltzer? Plus, bad dye jobs don't fool anyone. Vince looks completely ridiculous now. Yeah, he looks ludicrous. You can send us so you can send them questions. Shout out Dave Scherer. I'm going to ask that fool to get on the show. And with that, that was Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week.